Now we're going to create our first web page. It's also our first website. Many sites have more than one page. This one will only have one page, but you will have 3 files. You should have set up your project file inside your Web 105 folder. You should have the introduction file. And you should have at least 2, preferably 3 images, and you should have your index page created. We're going to get into this using Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to go into my index.html file, and there's a shorthand system for coding inside here and many other integrated development environments. It's called Emmet. It helps you with completing your web tags, and there's a few shortcuts you're going to need to learn. The first one is exclamation point, and then you hit tab. I'm going to undo this, Control Z. Notice that when I type in exclamation point, it tells me that it's an Emmet abbreviation. And to activate any Emmet abbreviation, you hit the tab key. And this works the same both on a Mac and a PC. And this gives you the basic outline of any web page. All web pages include some basic items if they're going to be properly created. Now, it will work on a web server with a browser will typically, browsers are what translate the HTML and other code that we use for web development so that they become what's visual on your screen. And so we'll use Chrome or Firefox, but there's also Safari, Explorer, and a whole bunch of other possible web browsers out there. Now, the web browser is going to take the code that we write and it's going to convert it to what you see on the screen. And it looks a little bit different from browser to browser. This is a properly formatted page containing the things that most of your pages are going to need. Not all of them are absolutely required, but this is what's generally available. And we're going to talk about the different parts of your basic web page. So in line 1, you can see that we have the exclamation point doc type HTML. This is just stating to the browser that this is an HTML document, and when we have that doc type declaration, it means that we're working in the current version of HTML, and currently we're working in HTML5. Then the next line, 2, it says what language we're using, and the language is English. EN is English. There's also a UK English and a US English, but you don't have to specify that far. Then every well-formatted HTML document should include both a head and a body section. The head section includes information about the page, things like the character set, UTF-8. That just means you're using the standard character sets for America. There's other ones out there. Then we have meta information. Again, meta information is information about the page. And the name is viewport. Content is width equals device width, initial scale of 1. This is important for responsive design. It sets the basic default page size as the width of the device that's viewing it. When we get into responsive design towards the end of the class, this will be critical. You may have noticed things that don't have this set up because you see if you open on your page on a phone, if you open a web page on a phone and this line isn't there, you see the entire page really small instead of it having resized to take up the whole width. And then we have a that we're compatible with IE Edge. This one is browser specific, but this is a Microsoft development environment, so it's going to make sure that works. The title is the name of your page, and this is what people will see when they navigate to your page and in bookmarks. So for today, we're just going to call it Web 105 Introduction. And I'm going to hit Control S, that's saving my document. Now, I like to test this while I'm working. So I'm going to go into my documents and into the folder. And you have to save this for it to work. But I have my index file here. And I have not put anything in the body section yet. But you'll notice that the Web 105 Introduction, the title appears up here in your web browser in the tab. And as we make changes, notice this file You can't hand in this file address when it says File, C, Users. This is telling you that it's on the local computer. When you're handing in things for the class, you need to upload them to the web server, which we'll do in the next lesson, for you to hand in a URL. In this lesson, you're just going to hand in the completed index file, which you'll upload in the next one. So right now, we don't have anything in the body section. The body section has what appears on the page. So we're going to show you some basic HTML commands. And remember, when you're doing HTML, you're usually going to have an opening and a closing command. So my opening command, H1, and I'm going to hit tab. That gives me both the opening and closing tags, and then you type between them. So I'm just going to put my name up here. I encourage you to just use your first name if you want to, because this is going live on the internet and people could potentially search for it. I'm out there all over the place and I don't really care, but be careful about what pictures you choose to put online and what you're going to share with the public. You want to be aware and not share anything that you wouldn't want the whole world to be able to see. And then I'm going to include some very basic samples of a few other things. So I'm going to have a paragraph text just describing a little bit about me. So I want you to have 2 or 3 complete sentences. I'm not going quite as far into this as I would have you do because I don't want you to watch me type that long, but it should be 2 or 3 sentences, all in one paragraph format. So I'm just going to put in something real quickly here. Now notice, I have hit return in my typing instead of having it continue on to the edge of the page, which I would be allowed to do as well. I just consider that harder to work with. I'm also going to move this over so you can see everything. So what's important to the browser is where the paragraph starts and ends. Anything more than 1 space it will ignore. If I save this, I can test it by going out here and hitting refresh. And my H1, you can see it's large, it's up here, and then this, even though I hit enter and have a carriage return in my code, that does not appear on the page here. I'm also going to add a couple other heading tags. So you have H1 through H6 in levels of importance, but you can have more than 1 of each. Generally, you have 1 H1 per page, but you can easily have 2 H2s, which I'm going to do. So I want you to have a couple headings about things that you're interested in. So H2, and you will see actual pictures of my dogs later in the class probably. I usually include them in some of my web pages. But this one, I'm just using the one that I downloaded from Pixabay. So it's showing you that this is unsaved. I want to include the Bouvier image. So Emmet makes this really easy. I know I want an image. The image starts with img, that's your tag, and then we hit tab. So it wants the source. Where is it getting the file from? It's really important that your files are in the same folder as your index page. So my source is bouvier.jpg. And it found it, so I can click on it or finish typing. The alt tag lets you put up a text description describing the picture. And this does 2 things for you. It will appear if for some reason your user can't download the picture, and it also will help for search engine optimization so that when we are trying to get things found by Google when it's doing images, the alt tag and the file name are both used to help identify images. So we'll just call this a Bouvier, oops, it needs to be between the quotes after the alt tag, Bouvier de Flanders dog. So we know it's a picture of a dog and it's Bouvier de Flanders. You don't have to say it's a picture, it knows that. And then I could include a paragraph with a little bit of information about Bouvier's. And again, I would like to see you have a couple of sentences here. I'm just going to write one just for the sake of less typing. So you'll continue on, and I want you to have 3 different level H2 headings. I'm only going to do 2. So my other thing is swing dancing, and I will include my image of that. And that would be swing dancing.png, and it will just be swing dancers. That's the alt tag, and then I would include a paragraph. I'm not going to type a lot here. Okay, so I'd like you to go a little bit further. I want you to have 3 level H2s, 3 images, and 3 paragraphs. Each paragraph should have at least 3 sentences in it. And when you're done, you're going to save this. And if you upload it, it's not actually going to work. So I'm going to have you grab a screenshot of it. So I want to see that you're testing it. So you're going to refresh, and you'll notice also that I didn't control sizes here of the images. That's why I grabbed the smallest ones. We'll get into changing the sizes of those in our later lessons. But it's your first web page. We will upload it in the next lesson. But for this one, just take a screenshot of it and also hand in the code that'll show me that it worked correctly. So you will upload 2 files. The code and a picture of it showing that the images worked, or at least one of them. So you won't be able to get an easy screenshot of the whole thing. Or you can do a Control P, and you can print to PDF. And we'll just drop that on the desktop. I think that will give me the entire thing with pictures. Yes, so do it that way. You don't need to hand in the code. Just print it so that I can see. I'll see your file path. I'll see the results of your code and that your images worked. I'll be able to read your code in the next lesson when I teach you how to upload it using FTP.